On a crisp autumn morning in October 2024, Park Ranger Ethan Reynolds was conducting routine maintenance along a remote hiking trail in Whispering Pines National Forest, Oregon, when his metal detector picked up an anomalous reading. Brushing away fallen leaves and digging through several inches of soil, he uncovered a small metal toy truck, its red paint barely visible beneath years of corrosion. The discovery wouldn't have warranted a second thought if not for the initials carefully etched on its underside, TTC. I immediately recognized those initials, Reynolds later told investigators. Every ranger in this district knows about the Callahan case. The toy truck was the first physical evidence discovered in 6 years relating to the mysterious disappearance of the Callahan family. Michael, 38, Jennifer, 36, and their children Tyler, 8, and Emma, 5, who had vanished without a trace during a camping trip in the same forest in July 2018. The case had gone cold after months of exhaustive searches yielded nothing but the family's abandoned campsite. Detective Lucia Reyes, who had been a junior officer on the original investigation, was immediately called to the scene. Now heading the county's cold case unit, she arrived within hours to secure the perimeter. We treated the entire area as a potential crime scene, Reyes explained. The toy wasn't just discarded randomly, it was buried approximately 6 inches deep in an area that had been thoroughly searched during the initial investigation. The following day, forensic teams commenced a methodical grid search extending outward from the toy's location. By nightfall, they had discovered 3 more items: a child's sock, a plastic bracelet with butterfly charms, and most significantly, a digital camera with its memory card still intact, though damaged by exposure to the elements. Digital forensic specialist Dr. Marcus Chen spent 2 weeks extracting and restoring the camera's data. The recovered images revealed the Callahan family's final documented moments. Michael and Jennifer smiling beside their tent, Tyler proudly displaying a fish he had caught, and Emma collecting pine cones. The last photo was time-stamped July 15, 2018. At 6:42 p.m., showing the family preparing dinner at their campsite. Murders, what makes these findings particularly significant, Detective Reyes noted, is that they were discovered nearly 3 miles from where the Callahans had set up camp. This contradicts our initial theory that they may have become disoriented and wandered off trail during a day hike. As news of the discovery spread, the case that had haunted the small town of Oak Ridge, Oregon, resurfaced in national headlines. Jennifer Callahan's sister, Diane Matthews, who had maintained a website dedicated to finding the family, expressed cautious optimism. For years, we've lived in this terrible limbo, Matthews told reporters, not knowing whether to grieve or hope. These new discoveries feel like both a blessing and a reopening of wounds we've tried desperately to heal. The investigation team established a timeline of the Callahans' last known movements. Michael, a software engineer, and Jennifer, an elementary school teacher, had planned the camping trip as a summer vacation activity. They checked in at the Forest Ranger Station on July 13, 2018, where they obtained their camping permit. Security footage showed the family stopping at a local grocery store to purchase supplies. Their credit card was used one final time at a gas station near the forest entrance. The original investigation had explored multiple angles. Search and rescue teams with cadaver dogs had combed thousands of acres. Dive teams explored nearby Clearwater Lake. Authorities interviewed dozens of hikers, campers, and hunters who had been in the area. The investigation even briefly turned toward Michael Callahan, as statistics show family members are often involved in such cases. We thoroughly investigated Michael's background, former Sheriff Thomas Blackwell said in a 2018 press conference. His finances were stable, his marriage appeared sound, and he had no life insurance policies that would have created a motive. There were simply no red flags. What perplexed investigators then and now was the complete absence of the family's vehicle, a 2015 blue Ford Explorer. which was never located despite extensive aerial searches and a national alert. With the discovery of the toy truck, authorities returned to an angle that had been considered but not fully explored: the possible involvement of Carlton Myers, a seasonal park employee who had been working in the area during the summer of 2018. Myers had been interviewed briefly during the initial investigation but was not considered a person of interest at the time. Myers worked maintenance in the campground area, Detective Reyes explained. His job gave him intimate knowledge of the forest, including service roads not on public maps. When interviewed in 2018, he claimed he had never interacted with the Callahan family, but the new evidence puts him in proximity to their campsite, according to staff logs. Attempts to locate Myers revealed another disturbing development. He had disappeared shortly after being questioned in 2018, supposedly moving to Alaska for another forestry position. However, authorities now confirmed that he never reported to that job, as forensic teams continued their expanded search of the area surrounding the toy truck discovery. A cadaver dog alerted to a patch of disturbed ground approximately 50 yards from the initial find. Careful excavation revealed what appeared to be a makeshift grave, shallow, hastily constructed, and containing what initial examination suggested were human remains. The following day, as the sun set over Whispering Pines National Forest, the investigators made their most chilling discovery yet. Partially buried beneath a fallen log and covered with years of forest debris lay a child-sized skeleton. The discovery of the child's remains sent shockwaves through the investigation team and the community of Oak Ridge. Medical examiner Dr. Sarah Patel worked meticulously at the scene, documenting every detail before the remains were carefully transported to the county morgue. Based on preliminary examination, we're dealing with the remains of a child approximately 5 to 8 years old, Dr. Patel stated in her initial report. The skeleton shows indications of having been exposed to environmental elements for an extended period, consistent with the time frame of the Callahan disappearance. DNA testing was immediately prioritized, with samples compared against genetic material from the Callahan children's personal effects that had been preserved from the original investigation. 3 agonizing days later, the results confirmed what many had feared. The remains belonged to Tyler Callahan, the 8-year-old son. Determining cause of death presents significant challenges due to the condition of the remains, Dr. Patel explained to the investigation team. Indeed, however, we've identified notable irregularities on the occipital bone, suggesting traumatic impact. The forensic team's continued search of the area yielded more disturbing evidence. 20 yards from Tyler's remains, they discovered a second grave site, this one more carefully concealed beneath a cairn of rocks. The excavation revealed partial remains of a smaller child, later confirmed to be Emma Callahan. Detective Reyes ordered the search perimeter expanded to 1 square mile around the discovery sites. We're operating under the assumption that all 4 family members may be in this vicinity, she told her team. Every inch of ground needs to be examined. As the forest search intensified, investigators pursued the Carlton Myers angle with renewed urgency. A deep background check revealed troubling inconsistencies in his employment history. Prior to his work at Whispering Pines, Myers had been employed at 3 other national parks across different states, each employment period lasting less than a year. What raised red flags was the pattern of his departures, explained FBI Special Agent Thomas Knox, who joined the investigation. In each case, he left abruptly, often coinciding with missing persons reports or unresolved incidents in those parks. Most notably, during Myers' 6-month employment at Glacier National Park in 2016, a family of hikers had reported a disturbing encounter with a park employee who had offered to show them an unmarked waterfall off the main trail. They declined and later reported the incident when they learned the employee had provided a false name. Investigators obtained Myers' employment records, which included his last known address, a rental cabin 20 miles from Whispering Pines National Forest. The property owner reported that Myers had paid 6 months' rent in advance, but had vacated the premises without notice in August 2018, just weeks after the Callahan family disappeared. A search warrant was executed for the abandoned cabin. Though Myers had cleared out most personal belongings, forensic technicians discovered trace evidence that would prove crucial. Under ultraviolet light, the cabin's bathroom revealed significant blood residue that had been meticulously cleaned from visible surfaces. The pattern of blood spatter suggests multiple cleanup attempts, forensic technician Alicia Fernandez reported. Whoever did this knew how to eliminate visible traces, but didn't account for luminol testing. DNA analysis of the recovered blood samples identified multiple profiles, including matches to both Tyler and Emma Callahan. Most damning was the discovery of a concealed compartment beneath the cabin's floorboards, containing several items: a collection of small toys similar to the truck found in the forest, a woman's watch later identified as belonging to Jennifer Callahan, and a folder containing newspaper clippings about missing persons cases from various national parks dating back to 2014. As the investigation accelerated, authorities issued an interstate manhunt for Carlton Myers. His driver's license photo and description were circulated to law enforcement agencies nationwide. "We're dealing with someone who understands forensic procedures and has taken deliberate steps to cover his tracks," Agent Knox told the assembled task force. The premeditated nature of these crimes suggests this may not be his first instance of targeting families in remote locations. The break in the case came from an unexpected source. A wilderness guide in northern Idaho contacted authorities after recognizing Myers' photo from news coverage. The guide reported that a man matching Myers' description had been working as a maintenance contractor at a remote hunting lodge under the name Carl Morrison for the past 3 years. A tactical team conducted a pre-dawn raid on the lodge, but Myers had vanished just hours before their arrival, apparently alerted by the news coverage. However, in his hastily abandoned living quarters, investigators discovered what appeared to be a journal containing detailed entries about various families he had observed while working at national parks. The journal made no explicit confessions, but contained disturbing surveillance notes about the Callahans and several other families, including their routines, the ages of their children, and assessments of how isolated their camping locations were. One entry about the Callahans, dated July 14, 2018, read, "Family of 4, parents distracted, easy approach. A blue Explorer with Oregon plates. This mention of the Callahans' vehicle prompted investigators to review satellite imagery of the region surrounding Myers' cabin from July and August 2018. The enhanced images revealed what appeared to be a vehicle matching the description of the Callahans. Explorer parked behind the cabin for several days after their disappearance, before being moved to an unidentified location. Ground-penetrating radar was deployed around the property, leading to the discovery of a disturbed area approximately 50 yards into the woods behind the cabin. Excavation revealed the partial remains of 2 adults, buried significantly deeper than the children's remains had been in the forest. DNA testing confirmed they belonged to Michael and Jennifer Callahan. The adult remains show significantly more trauma than those of the children, Dr. Patel noted in her report. And multiple indicators of defensive wounds on the arm bones suggest the parents fought back against their attacker. Forensic analysis of soil samples from both burial sites provided a crucial connection. The mineral composition of the soil around the adults remains matched samples taken from the children's burial site in the forest, suggesting the bodies had initially been buried together with the children's remains later moved to the forest location. We believe Myers relocated the children's remains as a contingency plan, Detective Reyes explained. If the bodies near his cabin were discovered, he wanted investigators looking in the wrong direction, toward the forest, instead of his property. Cell phone records revealed another disturbing element. Michael Callahan's phone, which had never been recovered, had connected briefly to a tower near Myers' cabin on the evening of July 15, 2018, hours after the final photo on the family's camera was taken. A text message had been sent from Michael's phone to Jennifer's sister, Diane. Decided to extend trip 2 more days. No service where we're heading. Don't worry if you don't hear from us. Diane Matthews confirmed to investigators that she had found the message suspicious at the time. Michael was always precise with his grammar and never used abbreviations in texts, she said, but I told myself maybe he was just in a hurry. As investigators pieced together the sequence of events, a horrifying narrative emerged. They theorized that Myers had likely approached the family at their campsite, possibly offering assistance or directions to a scenic spot not on public maps. Using his authority as a park employee, he had gained their trust before leading them to a secluded location. What we believe happened next was methodical, Agent Knox stated. And based on the evidence, Myers likely incapacitated the parents first, understanding they posed the greatest threat. The children were either restrained or controlled through threats to their parents. The family's vehicle was then used to transport them to Myers' cabin, where the attacks continued. Forensic evidence suggested the family had been held at the cabin for at least 24 hours before being killed. The toy truck that had broken the case open appeared to be part of Myers' disturbing ritual. Among his possessions, investigators found a collection of similar small items, presumed to be taken from his victims, carefully preserved in individual containers. These weren't trophies in the traditional sense, forensic psychologist Dr. Elena Rodriguez explained. They were more like anchors to the experiences. The fact that he deliberately placed the truck where it might eventually be found suggests he wanted the story to be told, but on his timeline. As the manhunt for Myers intensified, investigators uncovered connections to at least 3 other cases of families who had disappeared from national parks between 2014 and 2017. In each instance, a seasonal employee matching Myers' description had worked in the area at the time of the disappearances. What makes these cases particularly difficult is the vastness of these wilderness areas, Agent Knox noted. In normal circumstances, when people go missing in national parks, it's attributed to accidents, wildlife encounters, or simply becoming lost. Myers exploited this assumption. 6 weeks into the renewed investigation, as winter settled over the Pacific Northwest, a breakthrough came from an unexpected source, a remote wildlife camera installed by Forest Service biologists to monitor wolf populations, captured images of a man matching Myers' description moving through a densely wooded area near the Canadian border. A coordinated operation involving multiple agencies closed in on the location. After a tense standoff at an abandoned fire lookout tower, Carlton Myers was taken into custody. During subsequent interrogations, Myers maintained an unsettling calm, refusing to directly answer questions about the Callahans or other missing persons cases. His only significant statement came during his 3rd interview session when he told investigators, "Families don't belong in the wilderness. They disturbed the balance. I simply restored it." Prosecutors assembled a case built primarily on the forensic evidence, the journal entries, and the items recovered from Myers' cabin and the forest burial sites. Though he never provided a full confession, the circumstantial evidence was overwhelming. In March 2025, Carlton Myers was charged with the murders of the Callahan family and held without bail, pending trial. For Diane Matthews and the extended Callahan family, the discoveries brought a complex mixture of grief and relief. Defining them means we can finally lay them to rest properly, Matthews said at a memorial service held 6 years after the family's disappearance. But understanding what happened to them, that's something I'll struggle with for the rest of my life. The case prompted national park services across the country to implement enhanced background check procedures for seasonal employees and contractors. A new alert system, informally known as Callahan's Protocol, was established to flag patterns of disappearances across different parks and recreation areas. As Detective Reyes packed away the case files, one question remained unanswered. What had prompted Myers to place Tyler's toy truck in a location where it might eventually be found? Was it a mistake? Or, as some investigators theorized, a deliberate act by a killer who wanted recognition for his crimes? Some questions don't have satisfying answers, Reyes told journalists at the conclusion of the investigation. What matters is that the Callahan family has been found and the person responsible will face justice. But for those of us who worked this case, the forests will never feel quite the same again. In the quiet community of Oak Ridge, a small memorial was established at the entrance to Whispering Pines National Forest. 4 river stones, arranged in a careful circle, bear the names of the Callahan family. Beneath them, a simple inscription reads, "Lost in the wilderness, found in our hearts."